And so a new Grand Slam champion is born. Madison Keys, the new champion of Australia, defeating Aryna Sabalenka. 6-3, 2-6, 7-5 was the scoreline. I'm joined on the spotlight by Levi Huddleston from Gig. Welcome, Levi.
Thanks. What an amazing match.
And Jill Craybas, fresh from the AO radio commentary box. Congratulations to you both upon your countrywoman winning her first major.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, I would have been happy either way. I like Aryna as well. But yeah, I think I always like when there's a new champion, just to see the emotion and the feelings. And obviously, I've always felt for a very long time that Maddie's game was so good to win a slam. So I'm so happy for her that she got it. She deserved it.
And she did it in style. Levi, we're going to break this down set by set because I feel like there was a different flavour to each of the sets and really rising intensity in the last one. So should we start from the start? Talk us through the first set, where it was going. It was 6-3 to Madison Keys, who was a very fast starter.
She was. I mean, there were several breaks of serve, so we saw 3 breaks throughout that first set. Sabalenka had a hard time holding. Her first serve percentage was 63% versus 86 for Keys. But the one thing of interest was really the forehand. I think everyone was noticing that from Keys. 127 kilometers per hour, was really able to dictate from the back of the court. And Aryna, interestingly enough, she had 125 forehand speed in the last match, dropped down to 115. So she wasn't able to dictate because Keys was hitting so much power.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think Sabalenka started a little bit slower than I was expecting. Keys started very strong, and I think Keys got the break right out of the gates. And I think from that point, because she served so well, that pressure accumulated. I think throughout that first set, I do feel like Sabalenka was kind of on her back foot a bit. I think she realized how much Keys was loving the pace off the ground. So she did a good job of adapting and switching it up in the second, started throwing a lot of different variety, using the slice. The drop shot was super effective for her. She won almost every point that she drop shotted, but it's hard to do off of someone that's hitting with a ton of pace. And Keys, I think, started hitting with less pace in the second set. And I think Sabalenka started serving better. Her serve was not great in the first set, so I think that's why it flip-flopped.
What was happening then for Madison Keys, apart from the error count rising?
Yeah, I mean, just the first serves percentage drop. So, it was 86 and it dropped to 59%. Meanwhile, Sabalenka's rose to 83%. So it was just Sabalenka was holding much easier. Keys was having a very difficult time to hold, and the forehand pace, it still bothered, I think, Sabalenka, but she cut down a lot of the other errors, and so she was just able to, I think, merge out of that easily.
And so we arrived at the third set, and you really felt the energy in the stadium just go up a notch as the crowd realised what was happening. Both players a set away from holding the cup. And they were pretty solid.
Yeah, it was even. And you kind of got the sense that they were both going to rise to the occasion, and they did. So I didn't think I was that surprised that it was going to be a very close third set because Sabalenka played a lot better in the second. The serve was a big factor. I knew the serve was going to be a huge factor in the third just because of how one-sided each set was in the serve, and so they both knew that. They both served better in the third set. But I think you could feel the tension, and I was feeling the tension. I mean, I was nervous for both. You didn't know what was going to happen. But I do think, I can't remember exactly what it was maybe 3-all, I want to say, in the third, that Madison started, I felt like, upped the pace even more. And that was one of the things that she was so proud of herself against Swiatek in the semifinals, was that she didn't back down. She wanted to either win or lose, but go down swinging. And that's what she did against Swiatek. It paid off, saved a match point. I think she forgot she had a match point against her, but that's how much she was in the moment, just knowing exactly what she needed to do. Because you can handle it when you go down swinging if you lose a match, that you gave it your all. And she remembered that semifinal at the U.S. Open against Sabalenka where she didn't do that, and that really hurt her. So she wanted to make sure she just backed herself, and she did it, and it paid off here.
Levi, your team has a metric called pressure points, which are either break points or the previous point leading to a break point.
Anything that can lead to a break point. Yeah, and Keys, talk about going down swinging. I mean, 8-2 in terms of pressure points. She was winning those very crucial points. Interesting though, yeah, like no break points until that final game. And I just thought that was pretty crazy. It was just neck and neck, holding comfortably. But you mentioned, yeah, your gut instinct was right. Her forehand speed, actually, she increased it. It's crazy. 127 in the first set. She got to 132 in the third set.
Yeah.
Like she was really hitting that forehand hard.
It came down to that last game, and finally we saw a break of serve, and it was a really mature way to end the match. Of course, the beneficiary of an unforced error from Sabalenka at a crucial point, but converted her second match point opportunity.
But that had to do with the pressure, right? The pace that Madison brought. And I mean, and that's the way you want to finish a match, is going after it. And so she should be proud of herself. She deserved it. Yeah.
It was a beautiful winner. Any other things that the data was telling you throughout there, Levi?
Well, we mentioned ball toss range a little bit, and we haven't seen a smaller ball toss range since Stearns, really. And so, like, her first serve, just how tight that pattern was in terms of where she was tossing the ball, I can't help but think that might have helped her hold and be a little bit more comfortable out there. Just a very consistent toss. But other than that, I mean, what a fun match to watch, really.
Yeah. Maddie, the metronome, and now a major champion. Jill, just looking at the path to the final, where she's beaten the likes of Danielle Collins in the third round, a former finalist here in 2022, Elena Rybakina in the fourth round, former finalist here, and then Svitolina Swiatek, the world number 2, and now the world number 1. It's hard to imagine a much more difficult path for someone to break through for their first major.
Yeah, very difficult, but that can only make you stronger, I think, as the tournament goes on. And also, I love that you brought up all these players, because a lot of them are very different styles, and I think she had to adapt so differently to, say, a Rybakina, to a Svitolina who's really consistent, to Swiatek who brings the heavy forehand. So there was a lot of different things that Maddie had to adapt to. And the fact that she could adapt is something that I think that's improved in her game. I think her defensive skills have gotten so much better. She's moving so much better along the baseline. But the fact that she's throwing in the slice as well. So it's not it wasn't all about bang, bang, bang all the time that we've seen maybe like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. She has different things that she can bring to the table to adapt to the different styles. And I think that helped her win the tournament.
Well, congratulations to Maddie Keys. Let's hear from the 2025 champion following her triumph, followed by the runner-up.
Finally kind of getting past that hurdle of the semifinals and getting back into a final and doing it the way that I did it, I just felt like this is my moment. I can absolutely do this. And I just wanted to run with that.
What are your thoughts on the 10 kilos of silver that you've got here, and where will you put it in your house?
I've been getting a bicep workout carrying it around. It's been quite nice, actually. I'm absolutely going to make space for it in my house. I might have to have like spotlights on it so that everyone that walks in the house, it's the first thing that you see. But yeah. It's a pretty one. Yeah, it's a very pretty one.
I think when you get to the point of finals, it's trophy or nothing. Nobody remembers the finalists, and nobody put like next to the winner like a finalist name, So I mean, at this point, I go for titles, but of course I have to be. Anyway, I have to be proud of myself with the finals, 3 finals in a row. That's something crazy, and I hope that next year I'll come back as a better player, and I'll hold Daphne one more time.
Well, day 15, as it's come to be, is the men's final day, and tomorrow we have an absolute cracker on our hands. It's the defending champion, Jannik Sinner, against Alex Zverev in his first Australian Open final, his third major, though, Jill. How do you see this one playing out from an emotional perspective?
There's been a lot of talk from numerous people that before the tournament started, they felt like Zverev was kind of ready for this moment in this Grand Slam. Just a feeling that people were getting. I think he's playing that well. He's got the game to beat everybody. He's proven it. He's beaten everybody before. And so I think he's ready. I think he has to make sure that he doesn't get too passive, which has been the case maybe in some previous slams. But I think he knows that. And I think kind of like similar to like Maddie, maybe he knows he's got to go for it and let everything out there on the court. And I think he's going to be able to do it. He's got the weapons. He's got the big serve. It's one of the hardest serves to read in the men's game, according to a lot of the players. They struggle to read his serve, so he's got to serve well.
I think he was the #1 ranked server for most of last year on the ATP rankings.
And especially against Sinner. Sinner's got one of the best returns in the game, one of the most solid returners. So I would like to see Zverev come forward a little bit more if he has the opportunity. I think he's very capable of doing that and very adept at the net. I don't know. I'm kind of edging towards Zverev for some reason.
All right. Well, let's break it down.
A new one on both sides.
Let's break it down numerically, statistically. And Levi, can you make a case for how Alex Zverev wins this against a Jannik Sinner who has been as dominant as we've seen and showing very few signs of frailty?
Yeah, I mean, I think you absolutely can make a case for Zverev. It's interesting, like, diagnosing these two players. I was looking at some of their stats and I thought, like, are these the same players? They have such similar, just high-level statistics. So they've, just at a really high level across 6 matches, they've both dropped 2 sets. Okay, dig a little bit deeper. They've hit about 3,000 shots in total at the AO this year. 7% are winners on both of them. And they both have an error rate of 14%. So it's like they are playing super similarly in terms of, is Zverev ready? Is he playing as well as Sinner is? It's like, yes, absolutely, he is. And I think you could argue that even Sinner's playing better than he was last year. And so if he was able to win last year, is Zverev able to win this year, given that he's playing at the same level? So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting match. I think what makes them different, or where is Zverev's edge in this match, like you talked about, volleying. If he can come forward to the net, I think there is definitely an edge there. So when he comes to the net, he has an error rate of about 13%. So pretty good. Sinner, 25%.
Oh, wow.
So if Zverev gets to the net or he brings Sinner to the net, I think that's definitely an edge on the Zverev camp. Also, I think, obviously, the serve, huge edge for Zverev. First serve in play, much higher for Zverev than Sinner. First serve speed, much higher for Zverev than Sinner. We do this thing like we measure actually the knee bend, and how does Zverev generate all this pace? Well, like Zverev's getting lower in that trophy position. So, to give an edge, where does Zverev shine? It's going to be on the serve and the volley, and I think he has pretty good ground strokes.
Well, let's have a look then at Jannik Sinner's path to the final. In the second round, he dropped that opening set to Tristan Skulkate. He had Marcus Giron in the third round, straight sets win there. Against Holger Rune, he also dropped a set. And then against Alex de Minaur in the quarterfinals was flawless before he came through Ben Shelton. He's had a good range of opponents as well, like we talked about with Maddy Keys. Mm-hmm. So how does that set him up to play in another final?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's always pretty strong. I mean, I know he dropped a couple sets. I think he wasn't feeling well against Holger Rune, but recovered very quickly in that phenomenal match against de Minaur. To me, that's sort of a matchup sort of thing. De Minaur struggles. He's 0-10 now against Sinner. So I think just Sinner does a little bit everything better than de Minaur. There's similar games, but Sinner a little bit more powerful off the ground. The Shelton was a good test. That was a very, very good match. It was very physical. That first set was just the amount of court coverage that both those guys did was just absolutely insane. So I think that was a good physical test for Sinner. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be ready because I do think this is going to be a longer, more physical match with Zverev as well. And so I think he's going to be ready. I think the opponents, again, having to adapt for different things, right? de Minaur very consistent off the ground. If you just take the quarters and semis, Shelton, huge lefty serve. Sinner returned very well. He started reading Shelton's serve exceptionally well, got so many returns back in play. And then after that first set, kind of wore Shelton down a little bit. But he's played Zverev before. He's going to be ready. He's going to know exactly what to expect. Again, it's going to be how well Sinner can get a lot of these returns back in play. Because once he starts the point, I think he's going to be comfortable at the baseline.
All right. So where does Sinner hold the keys to this championship, Levi?
Yeah. So I think as Joe was saying, like it's really, it starts with the return. 85% on that second serve, he's inside the baseline. So he's putting pressure on you there. You can't just roll one in and expect, okay, I can get back in that rally. He's immediately putting pressure on you. And then he's taking 57% of his ground strokes on the rise compared to 37 for Zverev. So a little bit of that passivity that you were talking about. Again, applying more pressure, like he is getting closer and closer, and he has a huge weapon. That forehand's massive. So he's applying pressure and he's also getting closer. And then, you know, you look at his own serve +1, what does that next shot look like after the serve? You know, he's always taking a forehand. Not always, but like 77% of the time, whereas Zverev's more comfortable taking a backhand. And it's just in this game, the forehand's always favored. So if you can take that more often, that's where Sinner's edge is going to be.
Which is crazy because Sinner's backhand was always considered his strength. And it was something that he's been working on for a long time, is being able to get way more aggressive on the forehand side. And I remember a couple years ago, he was going Mach 10 on the forehand and missing everything. But the fact that he didn't back down on that and just kept going after it, because he knew it was the right thing to do to get better as a player. And now it's not a risky shot for him anymore. So that's why now he's looking more for that forehand, because it looks to your opponent like a more aggressive stance. And you can just get a little bit more firepower behind it. So it was an amazing thing that he worked on that is now a huge benefit to him, because now where do you go? I mean, both sides, his backhand's insane, super strong, solid, and now his forehand's even more dangerous.
He's been the best player in the world over the last 12 months. He has been very, very stable on the hard courts, barely losing any matches, and I think he lost only 2 matches last year on a hard court, or 3 matches on a hard court. So obviously, difficult opponent, tremendous power, tremendous ground strokes, incredible movement as well. Just all around a very difficult opponent.
Yeah, it would mean so much to me. Defending a title is always very, very special. But again, finals, just to play finals in Sunday in every tournament is something special. So, but it would mean so much to me.
Well, we've seen Maddy Keys pull off her first major win. Do you think we can see Alex Zverev follow in her footsteps? How are you guys predicting this one? Maybe a winner and a set score, if you wouldn't mind.
It's a tough call, but I think I'm going to go with Zverev in 5.
Zverev in 5? Levi?
I think I'm going to go with Sinner in 5. I
Sinner.
think it's going to be close.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a good match.
Well, whichever way that goes, it bodes for an exciting battle on day 15. Once again, I reserve my judgment as the impartial host of this show. But one of you will be correct in some way, shape or form tomorrow. Thank you so much for your expertise over the journey so far. Levi, your insights have been wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Jill, wonderful calling tonight on
Thank
AO
you.
Radio. All the best for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, you too.
If you'd like to listen to this episode in full, just search for The Tennis wherever you get your podcasts or click the link below in the show notes and that'll take you through to hear this episode in full. And why not hit the bell button below to subscribe to Australian Open TV for more great content. We'll see you tomorrow for men's final day, day 15.